What's up, everyone? It's Ruby here, bringing you guys live from the RMTV. I'm your host, Ruby Moon, and today we're going to be talking about, is gaming a waste of time? So, this is the very first podcast stream of RubyCast live. Every week, every Saturday, we will be going live talking about a topic. There's so many different topics that I have in mind, but the first one that we're going to start with is gaming a waste of time? So, of course, this comes to you brought up, the topic was brought up in Joe Rogan's podcast, where he infamously said, basically, that gaming is a waste of time. His points were that you can't progress if you're gaming all the time. And I have thoughts, but also you might notice that I don't have a webcam. It's because I am on campus, and instead of using a crappy built-in webcam, because I decided not to bring my good camera. So instead, I made me my mascot. This is the mascot of the channel, the person that the robot RMTV, the one that you see like that. And of course it's wearing a mask, because please wear your masks. But anyways, we're going to be talking for about an hour or two about, is gaming a waste of time? And I think to answer this question, we have to go back into my childhood, because I have been playing video games since I was 3 or 4, probably actually sooner than that. Yes, we're actually early, because I really only have this amount of time to give. It's going to be every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be talking for about an hour or two about the podcast topic. And we're talking about, is gaming a waste of time? This is the first episode of RubyCast live. So yeah. But anyways, I started gaming when I was 3 or 4. Probably even sooner, technically speaking. I just don't remember it. I mean, it depends on what you consider gaming. I mean, I played board games even when I was little. I mean, I feel like everybody has played at least one sort of game, even if it's not video game specifically. I basically grew up playing video games, and I think that I would like to think that it has actually taught me things. Because I do believe that video games do teach you things that you don't even realize that are being taught to you. And it's not just how to waste your time. It's teaching you how to make quick decisions, fast reflexes. Depending on the game, there's so many different moral lessons that you can learn. There's a lot of impactful games that really teach you a very good lesson. Like, I don't know, being open-minded, teaching you about different cultures even. There's even some cases where it literally teaches you math, logic, thinking, critical thinking. Like, Portal teaches you a little bit about physics. And even though I wouldn't use it for a thesis, it definitely teaches you the concepts of physics and the fact that you use momentum to throw yourself. Those are real physics. Those are real problems. Maybe not the porter gun part, but the launching part and the momentum, that type of stuff that does teach you things. It teaches you physics. Assassin's Creed, again, wouldn't use it for my thesis, but it does teach you history, real history. A lot of it is, fictionalized a little bit exaggerated. Some of it's not exactly word for word, but it is mostly real events that happened. Again, I wouldn't use it for like a thesis or like a research paper, but it teaches you about the events without you even realizing it. I mean, obviously the parts where it's like Ezio like interfering with time, that's not real. But a lot of it does take place during historical moments, like Revolution, or Assassin's Creed 3 takes place in the revolutionary time, during the Revolutionary War. It teaches you things about the battles and the war in general. I mean, obviously, again, wouldn't use it for like a research paper, but it does teach you about the events that took place there during that time. And so there's definitely different subjects that you can certainly learn from playing games. And not only that, but gaming in general can lead you down paths that you never thought you would take. For example, a lot of it ends up leading to Twitch or YouTube or Mixer. And when you get involved in those communities, even Discord, okay. And when you get involved in those communities, you end up talking with people, meeting people that you never thought you would meet. And even though Twitch has opened up to multiple mediums like art, vlogging, music, etc., you still get a lot of people that focus on their interest in gaming. It is still mostly a gaming-centric platform. And so you meet so many different people, so many diverse people with different opinions, different backgrounds, different beliefs, and you learn about their different opinions. Now, some people don't necessarily like those different opinions, but either way, you still end up learning about them. Even if people really do dodge, like politics and stuff like that, there's still other things that you can learn, like cultures and just how you're literally talking to the entire world. You're literally talking to someone who might be in a different country than you. And that's not an opportunity you get all the time. You don't get that opportunity when you do jiu-jitsu or whatever. Because when you do jiu-jitsu, whatever. Why do you use jiu-jitsu? That's such a weird example. I'll say karate to make so that I don't have to say that tongue twister. But like if you're just doing karate, you're only going to know so many different people. Just say martial arts, sure. Yeah, I'll go with that. Like you're limited on the amount of people you meet. I mean, yes, you could technically go worldwide and do some sort of like national tournament, I guess. But you're not really going to be talking to them. You're just going to be fighting them. So you don't really get to learn like their point of view or like their perspective on the world or anything like that. You don't get to learn about their culture or anything really. All you get to learn is how well they fight. Like, is that really what you want to learn? I mean, you definitely can have productive. You can definitely be productive in martial arts and definitely make a career out of it. But number one, martial arts requires a lot of skill, a lot of focus, a lot of, and even if you try your very best, you're not necessarily going to make it. You're not necessarily going to become the teacher that finds the school or whatever. Like anything, when it comes to, I guess, entrepreneurship in a way, individualism, like individual careers that don't require like, you're not like applying for it, but you're trying to like find it, like it's such a big gamble. Even just starting a business, like if you work to start a business, it's not necessarily going to be successful. And I think in any career that's like that, where you're not becoming an employer, you're becoming a business person, essentially. Even if you're starting streaming, you're becoming a business person. You're starting your own business. You're starting your own brand. You're developing it. Even if you start a martial arts school, you're still, there's a lot you have to do. And it's not necessarily going to be successful. So either way, technically speaking, any of those careers could very well be a waste of time, because it's not necessarily going to be productive right away. You're not really going to see the results right away. Like, yeah, you could start a school, but you're not going to have students because they have no idea who you are. And a lot of the times they go to the companies that have big reputations that already have a foundation, and already they know that they're going to be able to learn whatever they want to learn. You could become a dean of a college, and you could find your own college, and you could start it up, but no one's going to be applying there because nobody knows who you are. So, a funny thing, like if you really want to start a school, you are essentially doing the same thing as a Twitch streamer. You're taking a gamble. You're taking a risk. You're not necessarily going to get the customers right away. It might take you years on end. And while, of course, physical fighting or physical sports, I should say, are going to definitely help you improve and might be more productive when it comes to your physical health, but not necessarily your mental health. There's always something that has to give in order for you to actually be successful. No matter what, you're giving up some of your mental health a little bit to put into this thing that might not work. It might not be a thing. And when it comes to like sports especially, you're only talking about maybe 20 years, if you're lucky, 40 years. Well, actually, no. I mean, if you start, let's say you start at 18, you only have until you're about like 45 if you're lucky, before you start giving in. And you're not going to be able to maintain that physicality that it takes to continue playing that sport. Whereas streaming, playing games, doing professional gaming, that doesn't require an age. You can play games when you're 3 years old. You can play games when you're 80 years old. Like it's a you don't really have that limitations. Now, if you're going into game development and you're doing that, some companies do have limits on who they hire because they want to make sure they're being relatable to the teens, to getting the audience that they want. So yes, there is usually in some sort of age cap before they kind of just let you go or you become an executive or whatever. But that's not necessarily always the case as well. Like, you could become an indie developer and no one can stop you there. You can start a Twitch stream or somewhere, YouTube channel, YouTube gaming, not Mixer, but you could, you could start making content somewhere, even on TikTok. Wait, never mind. Jeez. But the point is that you're always going to have somewhere to have a platform. Even if they do go under, there's always an alternative. And even if you don't want to do that, even if you don't want to make content, or let's say you don't even want to play games professionally, because I certainly don't. I don't like competitive gaming. I'm not going to go into professional gaming or doing coaching or anything like that. It's not my alley. You can, and even if you don't stream, you can still be productive in gaming. Because number one, it's been proven that gaming is a huge coping mechanism that a lot of people use to escape to kind of just like forget the world. And I guess you could say that's a waste of time, but it's also working on your mental health. Being able to have a break. Right? If you're tired out and you're just done with everything, fighting, going into martial arts, or doing a sport is not necessarily going to help you. In fact, it might make it worse because you're stressing yourself out, because you're going to want to perform at your highest capacity, but it's not necessarily good for you, for your physical or mental health. So, but when it comes to gaming, there's always a game that you can turn to that will help you through the hard times. You know, we all have one game that we can always turn to. And for some reason, it just makes us all better. Not necessarily all better, but it makes us relax, calm down. It just touches us the right ways. Oh man, that sounds weird. That sounds wrong. But there's always like one game that really like hits home for people, and it really helps just forget about the world or whatever you want to do. Music does the same thing, but gaming gives us a distraction that we sometimes need. And that certainly isn't a waste of time. And like I said, gaming really teaches us a lot more than we realize. Especially, you don't even have to play story-driven games, actually. Even Fortnite teaches you something. It teaches you how to melt your brain cells. But I think that when it comes to any hobby that you might do, of course there has to be a limit. You should not pull a South Park and just game all day, do nothing at all. But you also should be able to enjoy yourself and do what you love. And if that is gaming, then who's to stop you? Yes, gaming can be a waste of time. It can definitely be used to help procrastinate for work. It can help, make days go away. But just because it's a waste of time doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And you can be productive when you're playing games. Again, you could stream, you can make content. That's not a waste of time. You could start your own channel. You could even apply for a team. Be a professional gamer. You can be that. You don't even have to be good at gaming in order to make a career. You can literally make a career by being bad at playing games. It works every time. Some of the most popular gamers out there terrible at playing games. And that's what makes them entertaining. It's because they suck. It's because they don't know how to play Call of Duty, or they don't know how to play Skyrim. And it entertains the people because they can see that someone isn't flawless. They don't have to be perfect in order to be, you don't have to be perfect in order to be successful in gaming. When it comes to sports, there's a lot of demand. You have to perform every time. Because if you slack off even once, goodbye contract. Goodbye millions of dollars, that $1 million contract, no one's going to want to sign you for because you suck. No one wants to sign the bad athletes. They all want to sign Tom Brady, David Ortiz, Derek Jeter. Those are the people, Bryce Harper. Those are the people that get signed because they're good at what they do. Peyton Manning, all the Mannings. They get signed because they're good at what they do. Nobody wants to have the bad player on their team. Antonio Brown, even Antonio Brown. You know, he might be an ass, but he's a good ass. You really do have to be good at sports in order to actually progress. Like, again, nobody is going to want to recruit the terrible person. Not terrible person, but terrible player. They just don't, because they want wins. They want the Super Bowl. They want the World Series. They want the World Cup. Whatever it is, they want that. They don't want the terrible people. Terrible players. The people who suck. When it comes to gaming, I mean, sure, the esports, they don't want you because, they don't really want terrible, again, they don't want people that are bad at what they do. However, that doesn't mean you're limited. Even though you can't be an esports player or whatever, you can still be a content creator. People love it when people suck at video games because it's entertaining. A lot of the times it is, especially if you know how to be a comedian about it and make fun of yourself and are able to take that self-deprecation humor and turn it into a show. You can literally be the worst gamer in the world and people will still watch. People don't care if you're the perfect masterpiece, and you could be the mastermind behind gaming and you can be successful as well. But you don't have to be. And that's the key. If anything, really, sports is a waste of time because you're only going to go so far. And yes, you could improve and you could be good at it. But if you're not really going to go anywhere. So, but the point is that you can turn it into something that's successful. You can become Tom Brady. You can become Derek Jeter. You can become, Michael Jordan. You can become those people if you're good at it, if you get lucky, if you get recruited by the right team, You can become Mike Tyson. You can become Muhammad Ali. But, of course, that's going to take time and dedication just as much as gaming does. And both sports and gaming can be considered a waste of time. Art can be considered a waste of time. But again, you can find the path that makes you successful. You can become Bob Ross. You can become Claude Monet. You can become Ninja or PewDiePie or whatever. You have no idea if you dedicate the amount of time. If you dedicate yourself, you can be the most successful person in the world. In fact, a lot of the most successful people in the world are simply people who worked harder. Simply the people who did something, made a name for themselves. Warren Buffett didn't become Warren Buffett because he slacked off and complained about everything being a waste of time. Bill Gates didn't become a billionaire by complaining that, making computers was a waste of time. They all became successful because they were able to dedicate themselves into what they do and be good at it. They were able to learn how to be good at whatever they're successful with. All of the world leaders are there for a reason. They're leaders for a reason. They got there for a reason. Some might have had, I don't know. But they, look, even, but I don't know if I want to say that. Do I? Yeah, actually, even Hitler had to work hard to become who he was. Not the best path to take, but he got there. He got his name in the history books. He became one of the most, if not the most infamous person in the world by being good at what he did. He made a mistake, which was good, but there's a reason why he was so successful at what he did as well. And it's not because he slacked off and complained that something was a waste of time. Heck, even Joe Rogan. You could argue that making podcasts and doing what he does was a waste of time because, yeah, anything can be a waste of time if you don't put the effort into it. If you don't work for it, anything can be a waste of time. College can be a waste of time if you don't dedicate yourself and actually commit to it and actually experience it. And then you fail. Like, anything that leads to failure and can be a waste of time. But at the same time, it can lead to things that are not a waste of time. I think it's important to realize that there's so many different outlets, there's so many different jobs that, yes, to someone else, it could be a waste of time. It could very well be. Not everyone has what it takes to be a successful Twitch streamer or a professional artist or whatever. It's always going to take a great amount of time. But does that mean that it's a waste of time? Even just trying something new, trying something different and having it fail, is that a waste of time? No. Because you learn what works and what doesn't. And that certainly isn't a waste of time. Yes, Joe Rogan has a point in saying that gaming is a waste of time because it is. It's the least productive thing that you can do. But, at the same time, it can be the most productive thing. It just depends on what you do with it. Are you just gaming because you need to put off work? Just want to, not put in the effort with anything? Or it can be productive. You can turn it into something. If you're playing games, you could stream it. Get a microphone. Make it a show. You know, the most successful YouTubers, streamers, started with nothing. Most of them started with a shitty laptop and a built-in microphone or a headset microphone. And they started with that and the shitty webcams. And they were able to turn it into something. Because they didn't need the fancy equipment right away. Because they're already making a show. They were already entertaining people. And they didn't have to even try that much. They just had to be themselves. And people find that entertaining because they find it relatable. People don't typically actually like the people who fake it. That doesn't mean it doesn't work. You can definitely fake it and make it. I mean, it's called fake it till you make it for a reason. You can do that. You can fake it. You can become the most fake person in the world and be successful at it. You could be Kim Kardashian. You could be Paris Hilton, you know? And even getting an inheritance doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be successful. It's what you make it that makes you successful. If you get $1 million, if you actually get the opportunity to have $1 million, you better invest it. You better make smart decisions and actually turn it into something. Because you don't become a millionaire by getting inheritance. You become a millionaire because you take that money and you put it into something. You make it bigger. You make it better. You don't just stick it in, I don't know, your bottom of your couch or under your bed and it's suddenly going to grow a tree of money. That's not how it works. People think that people who inherit it and people who, inherit money from their families or get it easy. It can make it easier to commit yourself, but it's definitely not easy because you still have to work. What, you think you just slack off and just, you're going to have money forever? No, you got to pay bills, you got to pay taxes, you actually do have to work. Even if you're a millionaire, even if you're a billionaire, you still have to work. Just maybe not as much, but you still have to work. You still have to do something with it. Otherwise, it could just go away. So you should never take success for granted. All the people that are successful for a reason. And maybe what they do started out as a waste of time. But it turned into something successful. It turned into something great. One of the richest men in the world is famous because he made video games, computers. And I'm sure he started out gaming and wasting his time playing games. But then he was like, you know what? I could actually make this a thing. Like, if I enjoy this, other people will enjoy this. And if I make it a thing that more people can do to entertain themselves, make a career out of it, maybe I can make something of it. Maybe I can do something with it. Heck, the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, head of the company that enables time wasters. I mean, let's be honest. The things you buy on Amazon, they're not going to be productive. They're going to be entertaining. Most of the time. Whether it's clothes or the next video game or console or whatever, they're not necessarily going to be productive. But you could use them and make them into something. It just depends. It depends on a lot of things. I would bet money that Jeff Bezos plays video games. Or at least did. I mean, he bought the company that is literally the platform for gaming in front of millions of people. I mean, would a non-gamer buy Twitch? Maybe. But I have a feeling that the reason why you would buy Twitch or buy YouTube or Mixer would not be necessarily because you're not a gamer. Clearly you have an interest for some reason. And even if it's literally just to make money, usually you invest in products that you actually like and can make it into something. Even if you end up messing it up, even if you end up driving it into the ground, like, there's a reason why you bought it in the first place. I mean, if you really wanted to be successful, you could just buy toilet paper. Not literally toilet paper, but buy, like Charmex or whatever. Because obviously that's going to be the biggest thing that people invest in. If you really wanted to be successful, you could try and buy Coca-Cola. You wouldn't have to buy the company that makes video games or whatever. But you do because there's a reason for it. Because you enjoy it. Because you want to turn it into something that actually will be successful. It might not be successful, but you want it to be. Clearly, whenever you make an investment, you want it to be successful. So, is gaming a waste of time? Of course. Of course it is. But that doesn't make it a bad thing. Is sports a waste of time? Yeah. But that doesn't make it a bad thing. Because anything that can be a waste of time can also be made into something that is productive. It just depends how much effort you're willing to give. How much effort you're willing to put in. Are you willing to actually commit yourself to put in the hours of streaming? Or putting in the hours to the point where you become the best person at playing that game, and playing Call of Duty, and playing Fortnite. Become a professional chess player. Are you able to put in the time? Are you willing to put in the time to become that? Because that's when it shifts from being a waste of time to being something that can actually be a product, that can actually be sold, that can actually be something. You don't just like get into martial arts and automatically become Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson or Jackie Chan or anything like that. Like, no. Jackie Chan didn't become Jackie Chan because for no reason. It's because he committed himself. He became good at what he did, and when he started getting old and unable to do what he wanted to do, martial arts, he put it into something else. He put his talent into acting, into putting it on the screen, and then he made a profit off of that. You can always pivot and turn it into something else. If you actually become bad at a sport, let's say Tom Brady suddenly became terrible. He could still turn that into success by making a podcast talking about sports, talking about what it's like to be in the NFL, People would tune in. And it can become something successful. Even if you sucked. So, even if what you start out doing initially isn't necessarily the end game, it can certainly lead to better things. And that includes gaming. That includes really anything. You could be, I don't know, a professional pencil sharpener. You could be an expert at sharpening pencils. And you can make it into something. Maybe you make it into a business where you actually make pencil sharpeners and you sell them. Or maybe you make videos about it. If someone was actually like a professional pencil sharpener and they made videos about it on YouTube, it would blow up. Because it's the dumbest thing. And yet people would be drawn into it. Because it's so stupid. Like, what? Professional pencil sharpener? What the heck does that mean? And suddenly they're watching. And suddenly you're making bank. You're driving to Hollywood. It's funny because you can make the best film in the world and be successful. But you could also make the worst film in the world and have everybody talking about you. Everybody knows your name. Everybody has at least heard of The Room. Everybody has at least heard... I mean, everybody knows the B-movie. And it's not popular because it's great. It's popular because it sucks. And yet it was able to... Even though it was so bad, it was also good at the same time because... It's the bad movies that get talked about more. Nobody really talks about Moonlight. Nobody really talks about, I don't know, La La Land. I mean, sure, some people do. Some people talk about Endgame as well. But I would argue that more people talk about Green Lantern. More people talk about The Room. More people talk about the B-movie. The movies that sucked ass. People talk about them more because there's more to talk about. Because it sucks so bad. And that's the point. Even if you're the worst gamer in the world, there's still an audience. Because people will eat that up. People will watch that because it's entertaining. Because it's so bad, because you're so bad, that it's good. It's funny. It's hysterical, even if it's not meant to be. Even if it's meant to be the most serious movie in the world, and it's bad, it's kind of funny. Because it's unintentionally bad. The unintentional bad movies are like the best movies because they don't even realize that they were going to be bad. And it's so funny. Because they were so naive and thinking, oh, we're going to make the best movie in the world and everyone's going to love it. And then they launch the movie and it sucks. People don't really talk about Return of the Jedi. No. People talk about The Last Jedi. People talk about Phantom Menace. People talk about Attack of the Clones. People talk about the terrible, terrible movies. They don't talk about the good ones. Not for as long. I mean, people definitely talk about like Empire Strikes Back, but not to the same degree as what's it called? The Rise of Skywalker. Man, I literally blanked out on that movie. I just threw it in the recycling bin. Just no. Actually, I threw it into the fire so it would burn. And people say that, oh, you could just make a good game and people would buy it and people will talk about it, and that is true. You could just make it good. You could just make a good game. You could just make a good movie. You could just make a good whatever. But you also don't have to. If you just made it good, yes, you would have customers. But if you make it bad, you would also have customers. Think about it. I mean, when it comes to television, reality TV, people don't talk about the good people that went on Dr. Phil. The actually sane people that went on Dr. Phil. People don't talk about any of that. They don't talk about the good music. Like, that one company that was behind Friday. People never really talked about or watched the music videos that were actually good from that company. People only talked about the ones that were supposedly bad, like Friday. Friday was successful because it was so bad that people were like, oh, yo, you should check out this video. It sucks. And, they watch it, and then they have their friends say, oh, hey, yo, dude, have you seen this video? It's so bad. That's where the there's no such thing as bad publicity. Because even the worst publicity in the world can make someone successful. So while gaming, yes, can be a waste of time, it can be. It also doesn't have to be. Think about, we're talking about the time where people are successful more than ever. Who got paid $3 million? Whatever. Shroud, Ninja. They're the ones who got paid. And Joe Rogan got a contract for his podcast from Spotify. I don't actually know what number he got, but I'm sure they got a big, hefty number. And so, we're already talking about an era where content creators are being more successful than the actual supposed celebrities. So, if we live in that era where content creators are getting more money, more views than celebrities, than the jiu-jitsu teachers, then is it still a waste of time? I don't think so. But of course, that doesn't mean that jiu-jitsu is a waste of time, or martial arts is a waste of time. You can make it something successful. You can turn it into something successful. And I think that's what he basically said, is that, if you put the energy into it, you can make it successful. Now, he was talking specifically about jiu-jitsu for whatever reason. But I think he failed to realize that you can do the exact same thing with gaming. In fact, you can do more with gaming. Because if you're a terrible jiu-jitsu athlete, then you're not really going to be successful. But if you're a terrible gamer, you can be. You can make it into something. And even if you're a terrible martial artist, you can still make it into something. We live in an era where the worst talents get views. Because that's what people love. People love it when others suck. Because it makes them feel better. So they watch it. They eat it up. They make fun of it. And that's what makes it successful. Because you piss off so many people that people are tuning in. There's a reason why, unfortunately, Jake Paul and Logan Paul are so successful. This is because they suck. So people watch them. Because they want to see what they do next that will turn into a controversy. So, thank you guys so much for stopping by for the first podcast. Again, this will be every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be talking about, I don't know what we're going to be talking about next week. I'll tweet it out. But, yeah, we're just basically doing this. They're not going to be long streams because I don't really have time for long streams. But they'll be productive. And we'll talk about very, very interesting topics. So I hope you guys enjoyed. This will be the end of this podcast. But next week, next Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be back talking about more. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out, guys. It's been a blast.